Hello everyone and welcome to the Golden Tips. My name is Gilson Martins. Bienvenidos. Today we're going to talk about Oracle GoldenGate replicates. And did you know that there are four different types? The classic or non-integrated, integrated, parallel, and coordinated. But there is something even more interesting. Did you know that it's possible to replicate process partial transactions? Yes, I'm saying that it's possible to replicate breaks transaction integrity and replicate just partial data. Breaking transaction integrity usually happens when we manually reposition replicate. So, if you are one of those guys that are always reposition replicate, checking log dump, RBA, and jumping to the next record, this video is for you. And there is one process, one integration, one replicate that doesn't do this, that can prevent this to happen. And this is the integrated replicate. But guess what? In version 23, it was deprecated. So let's see a demonstration that I prepared for you and let's check how this happened. Let's go. For this demonstration, we're going to use three types of replicate: classic, integrated, and parallel. And how this is going to work? We're going to have one extract that's going to be capturing the data from the source environment, and this transaction will be sent to the target environment. And then we're going to create each type of replicate and process the same transactions, and then compare and check how it's the behavior of each of them. Okay, so are you ready? Let's start. I already said this, right? So let's just continue. Here, what I did, I pre-set up the environment. So I created the table on the source and target environment. I already added the extract that we're going to use, added the trend data, and now what is the point that we're going to continue? I'm going to start the extract that I've just created. Okay, so let's issue the start command here. Okay, the extract is started. And here is the jump of the cat. If you don't know that, it's because Brazilians say this very much. Don't worry about that. It's just to make a joke, okay? But the point is, here is a very important thing that we need to pay attention right now. And here it is. We are gonna do an insert on the target environment because we wanna intentionally trigger an error with inconsistency and integrity database. Okay, we are gonna perform this because we want the replicate got abandoned, and after that we are gonna do the reposition that we are talking about, and we're gonna see if we replicate, it will allow us break the transaction and just replicate partial of the data. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, let me get here the insert. I'm gonna do this insert on the target database. If I check in here the table right now on the target, we have one record, but on the source environment, the database is still empty, right? And now we're going to create in our deployment of the targets our first replicate, which is going to be a classic replicate. Okay, I'm going to do the add command here. If you check the parameters, it's a very simple with just a few lines here. And now we're going to start this classic replicate. Okay, so far so good. Replicate it's running. All right, let's start here with our first insert. Okay, our first insert that we're gonna do here, and let's check if the replication is happening and it's working fine. So if I execute or select, okay, it's inserted the ID number 1 with the description transaction before error. And if you check on the target, the record is inserted also on the target environment. So our replication is working fine from source to target. All right. And now here comes the point that we're gonna perform a command that it's gonna be our transaction test. Okay, this is our transaction test. It's just 5 commands that we're gonna use, and then you're gonna commit and check that in the middle of this transaction have an ID with number 3, which is the one that we already added before on the target environment. And with that, we're gonna trigger an error. So let's check what is gonna happen now. So on the source environment, I just applied this one transaction with 5 records. Okay, so pay attention with that. Sometimes people make some confusion, misunderstanding. We can have one transaction and many records, okay? So after that, let's check how is the table. All right, so we have ID number 1, it was updated with the information transaction with error. And now we have record 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if we check here on the struct, let's see what the struct just captured with status total. All right, our 5 inserts and 1 update, and that's true because we executed all of these commands since the struct was started. All right, so far so good. But let's check how it's going on with the replicates. Check it out. It's abandoned, so let's do a quick troubleshooting, starting with reports, and let's check what is the message and error that we're gonna find. So here it's saying that transaction group was cancelled on the table with database error number 1 because of an unique constraint violated. So whenever we have a DML error, a record error, we can find more details on the discard file. So let's go to the discard file and check what is the idea that it's having an error. Why that? Because here we don't have exactly the record that is causing the issue. We have the command, but we don't have the details of the record. The only place that we can find this is on the discard file. Oh, here is sometimes this interface got some stuck and they're not able to click here. Let me just reload, go to the administration service. Now go to the replicate, the R class, and now let's check the discard file. And this is very important. Look at that. We have here in the discard file the whole record that it's causing the issue. The ID is number 3, okay? And there are one more information that is very important. This line here, it's very, very important to us, okay? Because it's saying that a transaction was aborted in this trail with this sequence and RBA, and the error happened on this RBA. So it's 2 different information. Let's copy and paste here, and I just change it here and updates. So look what is exactly the error that discard file is sent to us. So it's saying that the error happened in this RBA. The transaction was aborted in this RBA, and the error happened in this another RBA. Right? So let's check which record have inside each of these RBA to understand exactly what is going on. So to do so, I'm going to log it up, and let me open the log up with sequence 0. So I'm gonna get in here. This is the full trail name. I'm gonna paste here and just do some commands to get more details of this record, and I'm gonna position with the command position to this RBA, the first RBA of this transaction. And what it is, it's a command update. And if you check here, it's the command that we update with before error and with error. So this is the update that we did right here. And this is saying that this is the RBA 2172, all right? So far so good. So the next RBA, what it is an insert with something validating second, and hey, it's this one, right? So we can understand that it's this one here, and it's 2487. All right. So this is the next one. Let's check. Next, it's, oh, this is familiar, right? This RBA 2660, and if you check this, look at that. It's the error that the discard file said to us. So now I think we are understanding the transaction. The transaction started in this RBA, and the error happened in this record. That's exactly what the discard file said to us. And now, just to finish, let's check the next 2 RBA, and probably after that, there will be anything else because we didn't add any more records on the source database. So here it's this RBA, just to finish our analysis. And the last record of this transaction, it's RBA 3008, all right? So this is our transaction with our 5 records, 1 update, and 4 insert. And this transaction was aborted. And aborted in the beginning of the transaction, so it happened at the rollback. And the error exactly happened in this RBA here. But see, here it's the point. Many guys that it's starting his journey with GoldenGate, log dump, understanding how to reposition things, usually thinks like that. Okay, it's saying that the ID tree it's already in the database because I have an error unique constraint. And if I go into the target database, yes, that's right. I can confirm that this ID it's already on the database. So what we're gonna do, as I know, check what is the RBA in the database, I'm gonna just jump for the next RBA because I don't need this record. This record is already on the database. I just need the other records. So what usually it's done here, and if you do this or already done this in the past, probably you're laughing right now, right? I know that you did it. I already did this on past too. I have to learn all of this that I'm sharing to you, okay? Because most of the time this is not so clear to us. Okay, so what usually guys do here? Okay, the problem is in this record which I already had in the target database, so I'm gonna just reposition the replicate to the next RBA. And let's see what is gonna happen when we do this. So we are gonna use here reposition to the sequence 0 and to the RBA. This one here, yes, it's the next one. So let's check it out. Go in here. Let me exit. Let me go again into the deployment of the target environment. Okay. A class is abandoned, so let's reposition it. And if you check here, it's repositioned, okay, to this RBA, that it's gonna be this RBA here in the middle of the transaction that we did. And now let's start it and let's check what is going on. After we start, it's normal, got some lag here. Let's continue checking until the lag is gone. Okay, when the lag is gone, let's just do this. Send the replicate. Our class starts total. Let's check what was processed for this replicate. And look at that. Was processed 2 inserts. And on the database of the target, let's check what we're gonna have here. This record. But take a look on that. We are missing record 2. Right? Record 2 is missing if we compare with the source environment. Right? So one record is missing. Why? Because GoldenGate allows me to reposition to a RBA in the middle of a transaction and just ignore all those records that it's before the one that I'm repositioning, even if this is a transaction. Can you see how this is dangerous? This is a thing that we must understand. If when we are repositioned, we are causing this kind of issues, okay? Because if you just reposition GoldenGate choosing an RBA and that's fine, this can cause a serious problems, a serious issues with data integrity and consistency, right? And in this case, the records, the 3 first record was just ignored. So the update didn't happen. The record ID number 2 wasn't insert, and the ID 3 wasn't insert. And check one more thing. If you check the information of this ID on the source, look at the description information. The ID is 3, but the description is validating third class replicate consistency. In the target, we have the ID third. But look at the information, the description. The data is different. It's not the same. The same behavior happens in the ID number 1. Look at the information that we have. We have ID number 1, but the information is transaction before error, right? And let's check how the data is on the source environment. It's transaction with error. So we have here 1 data is missing and 2 records that have different information. Even if the ID is on the database, this doesn't mean that the data is the same. And we are checking this here. So this is what I wanted you guys that work with GoldenGate, you that are on a GoldenGate admin, have some caution and understand this demonstration that I'm sharing to you. This is very, very, very dangerous. And sometimes I listen people saying that GoldenGate is crazy, GoldenGate is not replicating the data well, and so on and so on. But actually, most of the times, I must say that are many manually actions that it's taken, that it's done, that cause these problems, these issues. All right? So don't, this is not the end, okay? I did this with the classic replicate. But now I'm gonna do with the integrated replicate, and I can say to you in advance that the integrated replicate doesn't allow me to do this. And let's check how this is gonna work. This is very nice, very cool, because even if I wanted to do this, that I did with the classic replicate, the integrated replicate does not me allow reposition a replicate in an RBA and just process partial of the transaction. This is really nice. Okay, so let's go and check how this is going to happen on the integrated replicates. And to start, we're going to just, on the target environment, truncate the table and prepare it to be reprocessed. We're going to repeat the transaction that we did with another replicate. Okay, so we had here the ID number 3 that we already added. And let's now go to add these integrated replicates. And if you check the parameters, there is nothing new, not big parameters. It's very nice. And it's very, just a few parameters, okay? And let's start it, okay? I started, and it is just reading the first trail and the first RBA, and let's check what is going on. It's gonna try to reprocess all the information that we already checked with the classic. Okay, as it's an integrated, sometimes take a while to start, because this moment is just starting the internal process. Okay, here is what we are expecting to happen. And let's check with the review report. Let's see what you're gonna say to us, and check here. It's gonna say that there was an unhandled error with unique constraint violated. And let's just get this information here. And there are one important information that it's saying that the errors happen while processing the record sequence 0 and RBA 2660. So the error happened while processing the record with this RBA. And who is this record? Check it out. It's our guy. It's our guy. Okay, ID number 3. So I'm gonna just jump this because we already did it. And let's just try to reposition to the next trail, to the next RBA as we did it before. So I'm gonna just copy the command here. I'm gonna use the same. I'm gonna put here. And this is our integer. And let's reposition it. Okay, auto replicates. Let's see what it's gonna happen here. Integer. Okay, now we have the replicate, integrated replicate reposition to the next RBA after the record that we did in the extract, in the classic example. Okay, so let's start and check here what is gonna happen. Started info r. Er. Integer. And it's abandoned once again, and it's abandoned in the RBA that we just repositioned. Let's check the report file and see what happened. Okay, so look at that. Here it's saying the same, that the error happened, the unhandled error happened while processing the record with same sequence number and same RBA. Even though we tried to reposition it to a different RBA, this was not able to perform this transaction because in this case with the integrated replicate, it considers the whole transaction. The integrated replicate does not just jump to the next RBA and process it without considering the whole transaction. In this case, the whole transaction is considered. And because of that, replicates try to redo the transaction from the beginning. And when try to do that, the error happen. And we can keep try many times, and you're gonna see that this is not gonna happen because the integrated replicate it's a smart one. It's smart and doesn't broke transactions until we solve the issue, until we treat that record that have an issue, all right? So I'm gonna start once again just to double check. So I started, check that it's running on the RBA 2834, and then we got the event. Just double check here and see, all right? Same error, same behavior, and that's it, okay? Even though we tried to break the transaction with the integrated replicate, it did not allow us to do that. This is very, very nice, very cool. But as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, unfortunately, this replicate it's deprecated on version 23i. We are using this, but probably in the future versions, this kind of replicate, this type of replicate, will not be available anymore. And the question is, Oracle is gonna use this resource? Um, um, the question is, Oracle will reuse this feature in another replicate? Let's see. We don't know. And now, let's try to perform the same with the third replicate. And why the third? The parallel replicate. Why? Because this is on the parallel. Here it's parallel. Okay? Why the parallel replicate? It's because, as per documentation, Oracle recommends you to don't use the integrated replicate and change it to the parallel replicate. If you check in the documentation, for instance here, the deprecated and the supported feature for version 23, it's gonna say, let me find it here, okay? Oracle GoldenGate 23ai has deprecated integrated replicate. As an alternative, you can use parallel replicate. So the feature that you're talking about, in my point of view, it's very important. It's very crucial to minimize errors and problems that can cause because of integrity and consistent data. And if you're not able to use the integrated replicates, we should use parallel replicates, but the replicate parallel supports and allows me or not to break transactions. Let's see what's gonna happen. Okay. Let's gonna perform the same test that we did it before. All right. So here's the parallel. Just let's clean up and refresh the environment once again. And just to check in the target environment, only the first record was replicated, right? Because we did it, but the whole transaction was not replicated, all right? So let me clean up here the environment. Now their ID number 3, it's the only one on the target environment. And let's recreate a new replicate. This is the replicate. Let's check the params that we're using. And it's very simple, parameters, not so much things. We could be using this kind of parameters because of the parallel, but I will not talk about this right now and talk in details of that. Just a basic and simple parallel replicate, okay? I've created it. How can I say if it's parallel? Because it's mentioned here, parallel replicate, and let's start it. So if I start it, let's check what it's gonna happen. It's running, right? And now got abandoned. Let's see why it's abandoned. View report a par and check it out. It's gonna say that there was cancel group transaction because of the database error 1. Okay, this is we already know. And let's try right now to reposition it and check what is gonna happen after we change the RBA of this process. I'm just gonna get here. Okay, fair. That's gonna get here. All right, so it's sequence 0 and RBA 2834. Just to recap, we are talking about that we are repositioned to this record here, that it's in the middle of the transaction. And if we do that, don't know why this happened and didn't close it. I really don't know why. Okay, let's reposition it. And if you check here, look at that, it's now with the RBA 3834, and let's start it. And let's see what's going on after we reposition it. Oh, it's jumping to the bigger RBA. This means that probably the data was replicated. Let's see with stats total. Look at that. Total of inserts, 2 inserts was performed here. And let's check on the target environment. Look at that. We have here some data was replicated. This means that the parallel replicates behavior the same as classic replicates. And this might be dangerous in some situations because with that we can just break a transaction in the middle and replicate just partial data. And the only process that doesn't allow us to do that is integrated replicate, which is deprecated in 23ai version. So guys, this is it. This is what I wanted to share with you. If you check here all the replicates, we're gonna see that we had here classic replicates processed as parallel replicate to process the transaction partially, but the integrated replicate is still abandoned and is still waiting. We took some action and solved the problem with the record on the RBA 2660. All right. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe on the channel and give a like in this video. Okay? And let's now be more careful when we try to reposition the replicate in a different RBA and avoid broke transaction and replicate partial data. Okay? So that's it. See you on the next video. Bye. Hasta luego.